Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Village of Bartlett Board meeting for April 3rd, 2018. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Kammerer?
Here.
Carbonaro?
Here.
Daney?
Here.
Brenya?
Here.
Hopkins?
Here.
Ranky?
Here.
President Wallace?
Here. We've requested Pastor Susan Terrell from the Emmanuel United Church of Christ to do our invocation this evening. Pastor Terrell.
Right.
God of us all, your spirit abides. Thank you for the opportunity for life and work and the volunteerism that drives this community. As those gathered here desire to lead and make future decisions, may you bless their work, the conversations that develop, and the people they serve. May any division be tempered by understanding. May speaking be balanced with listening. And may plans and dreams benefit the people of this village. And it is in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Terrell. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item we have this evening is our consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk will be considered enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on items on this consent agenda. At this point, is there anything a board member would like to add to the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to add items F1 and F2 to the consent agenda.
Discussion about those. Anybody have any issues with that?
I'd like to add everything that I have on the committee, but that's not going to happen.
Any serious additions to the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to add E1.
Does anybody have any discussion over E1, ordinance amending various sections? Anyone? Okay. Anything else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to amend the consent agenda to include the following. The bills list from April 3, 2018. The consent will also include, under Community and Economic Development, the Bartlett Police Special Display Permit for McGruff, the Crime Dog Inflatable Balloon for National Night Out. The consent agenda this evening will also include, under Finance and Golf Committee, a resolution approving the janitorial services agreement between the Village of Bartlett and Multi-System Management Company. The consent agenda this evening will be adding, under Police and Health Committee, the ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 19-100 of Title VI of the Bartlett Municipal Code regulating the seizure and impoundment of motor vehicles used in the commission of certain offenses. The consent agenda we will also be adding, under Public Works Committee, an ordinance authorizing the Village of Bartlett, Cook, DuPage, and Kane Counties, Illinois, to borrow funds from the Public Water Supply Loan Program, construction of 12-inch, 16-inch, and 24-inch transmission mains. The consent will also be adding, under Public Works Committee, an ordinance authorizing the Village of Bartlett, Cook, DuPage, and Kane Counties of Illinois to borrow funds from the Public Water Supply Loan Program, receiving station, and ground storage upgrades. The consent will also include, under Public Works Committee, a resolution approving of the easement agreement between the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County and the Village of Bartlett for the construction, operation, and maintenance of water main improvements along Wayne Grove Forest Preserve. The consent will also include, this evening under Public Works Committee, a resolution approving of the 2018 water main replacement agreement between the Village of Bartlett and the Girardi Sewer and Water Company.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Carbonaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Ranky?
Yes.
Kammerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney? Brenya?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
That motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Kammerer, seconded by Trustee Daney. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kammerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Brenya?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
That motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, public hearing, board, and committee minutes from March 20, 2018, and the committee minutes budget review from March 14, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Carbonaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Cabrera?
Abstain?
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Camera?
Yes.
That motion carries. No treasurer's report this evening. Only under President's report is I wish everybody had a happy Easter. Hope everybody had a good break. Any questions from the board?
I got one question relating to the Stearns Road Bridge closure. It's my understanding that several residents and parents of Centennial Elementary have contacted the village regarding safety and traffic concerns. Could you kind of brief the board on kind of some of those questions and comments?
Sure. Why don't we start with Dan, and then we'll have Chief Ulrich give you an update on the police presence out there.
Right. As you know, that project, the Stearns Road is closed at the culvert that, for Country Creek, where we're going to be removing the steel bridge, pedestrian bridge, extending the box culvert to the north so that we can move the bike path further north away from the road. We will also be getting rid of the guardrail and putting in curbs. So when it's all said and done, it'll be much safer for everybody. Unfortunately, with how tight it is right there, we really could not have a contractor trying to work and have vehicles cross, using that road at the same time. It just wouldn't be safe. So we had to shut that road down. It's anticipated, we're allowing 8 weeks for that to happen. We ended up having a detour route of Stearns Road up to South Bartlett to Devon to Newport, back down to Stearns. And we worked with the Centennial principal and U46 Transportation back in early February, letting them know of the project. We actually, if you remember, we actually tried to do this project in the fall last year, but we ended up putting the brakes on it because AT&T determined at the last minute that they had a conduit right in our way. So we had to wait for them to get all that out of our way, and that recently happened. So we're ready to go. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's an inconvenience for people. We've been working with the police department to make sure that it is safe at the Centennial School for both drop off in the morning and pick up in the afternoon. We've been monitoring it prior, so we had a good feel for what the traffic was like during those periods, and now we've been monitoring it since we've closed it. There's more traffic on Prospect because cars can't head west on Stearns, so they're coming back and heading north on Prospect, but it all seemed to flow fine. The amount of the period that we're talking about is 10 to 15 minutes in the morning and 10 to 15 minutes in the afternoon. And even during that period, it's really only a few minutes of really intense traffic. And it's more of when the crossing guards are crossing kids across Prospect, it backs everything up. But they had that prior to us closing the road. So it seems to be functioning. We're going to continue to monitor it. I think with these first couple days, you still have the cars that don't believe that the road's closed, so they still head all the way down and say, oh, it really is closed, and then they're heading on Prospect. Once that sorts itself out, which I would say by the end of the week that should be done, we should just mainly have school traffic and dropping off and picking up kids, and it should be similar to what we had prior to the detour.
We've also been working with Public Works and the school to make this as safe as possible. I stopped in the school this morning and talked to them, and they said yesterday was a little hectic because it was open in the morning and then closed in the afternoon. So when people came in the afternoon, they didn't really know what to expect. I was out there this morning, and like Dan said, I think the traffic flowed well. It was almost the same exact pattern that they use every day, because even if people turn off of Stearns to go north on Prospect, they can't make a left turn into the school because it's prohibited. So everybody has to come southbound on Prospect to make that right turn into the school. And that was pretty much the same as it was this morning. One of the difficulties, and we'll have to continue to work the school with this, is the drop-off lane in the school parking lot. If parents take too long, if they get out of the car to help their child get out, or if they park there and go into the school, it creates a backup, which then backs up onto Prospect. So as long as we're able to keep them moving along, it seems like everything is is like it normally is and can be done in a safe manner. Aside from that, I had officers out there this morning at drop-off time and in the afternoon at pickup, and then as well as throughout the day. I think there were 10 traffic enforcement activities that I saw before I came over here. I looked at our statistics, and 11 traffic stops that were made throughout the day in the neighborhood and around Centennial School. And we also had our speed trailer out on Prospect as well. And the officers that were in the neighborhoods had gotten approached by the residents and thanked for our presence in there. So we'll continue to do that throughout this 8 weeks.
That's great. It's good that you're focusing on the neighborhood, and looks like you guys have a handle on it. Thank you.
I remember when the Struckman and Schick bridges were under construction, there was that long period that there was no construction going on because the concrete had to cure or whatnot. Are we going to have that same phenomenon here on Stearns?
There'll be some when they pour the box culvert. They won't be able to work once they pour that concrete, but they'll have some other work. They have retaining wall to build and some of that stuff, concrete curb and all that stuff. So I envision them being there, and they know that they've got 8 weeks to get it done. We're hoping it gets done much shorter than that, but a lot of it depends on what the weather does to us.
Which brings me to my question is what's the best case scenario, Dan? I mean, weather's good, everybody shows up and works, instead of 8 weeks.
It's probably 6 is probably the best, maybe a little better than that, but if we have ideal conditions throughout, we can trim a couple weeks out of there probably without too many issues. If we can get lower than that, we're going to do it. So you just don't know with spring. You just never know what. I mean, we might get snow tonight. Who knows? So.
Is this something that we could put additional, funds to have the workers work overtime and get it done in a shorter amount of time?
If you would like to pursue that, we could talk to the contractor and see what type of extra that would be.
Thank you.
I think in weather events, we might want to keep that in our back pocket, because the last thing we want to do is have it get rained out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, not be able to pour concrete, and it's pushing up against the main coming through.
Right. The biggest thing right now is they have to put a cofferdam in, and then they pipe to the existing culvert. Once they get that in, then they can work around it, as long as we don't get a huge event that ends up overtopping that dam. But once they get that pipe in there, we should be able to, weather won't be as much of an issue unless we get a really big storm.
One of the questions that came up to me was, right now, when buses don't take a left onto North Prospect because they don't turn around there, right? All the buses come in from Prospect and are going north.
No, they all head south, because they have that drop-off on the east side of, on the west side of Prospect. So they're heading southbound.
Yeah.
They pick up and drop off the kids, and then they head south to Stearns, and now they have to make a left.
So the bus pattern is exactly the same.
Other than some buses did, after they dropped off or picked up, they did take a right and head west on Stearns. Now they have to go east on Stearns up to, I don't know if they're going all the way to Newport or if they're cutting through the neighborhood or not.
Yeah, so that's after school when they have kids on the bus.
I was talking to the U46 Transportation today, and down on Windsor, just south, on the south side of Stearns there, the little neighborhood south of the school, the bus was normally going on the west entrance and exiting on the east entrance. So they reversed that, so they would now turn left onto Stearns, turn right onto the east Windsor, drop off the kids through there and exit out of the west one, so now they could head east. And they can, at that point, they could turn north on Prospect if they want, or continue east, Stearns. So it seems to be working. There's always little tweaks that we're looking at to try to improve it, and we'll continue to do that.
I think after I found out some of the details, it was very gracious of you not to pass the buck on some of the other people that were involved that delayed it last year when it should have been done. We won't bring up those names, but that was a problem. So there was things out of our control that moved this. Anything else? Town Hall. If anybody would like to address the board, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Joan Place, 128 South Hickory Avenue, Bartlett. What I wanted to bring up is we're having a problem with the 18-wheelers coming through again in the residential. I think part of our problem is they're coming off of Lake Street because now we have all this construction going on 59, and they're trying to get over to 59. So they're coming from Lake Street down North Avenue onto Main Street. From there, they are crossing over, continuing on through to get to Western. When they get to Western, they get as far as Oneida and realize can't make it across the tracks. So they turn left now onto Oneida, head down to Main Street again, turn right on Main Street, and cross over the tracks over there. And then turn right and head out to 59 from West Bartlett Road. So I noticed that Devon and Prospect and Main Street and Devon have signs saying no trucks over 12,000 pounds. There's one as you come on to West, Western, no, that's at Prospect, and also on North Avenue. As you're leaving Lake Street, going through that part of Streamwood, there's a sign. Frequently, that sign is covered with tree branches, so it's not very legible. But we have nothing that once they hit Main Street and they're on North Avenue, there's nothing telling them that they can't come through with weights of that volume. So I wondered if there was anything that could be done, because our streets are in very bad shape down there to begin with.
What's the weight limit, Chief?
We took a look at this several years ago, and what we try to do is protect the downtown from cut-through traffic from semis. They're still allowed to come through if they're making local deliveries, but if they're just cutting through, they're not. I thought that we mapped out the routes that they might come and put up signage to prohibit it. What we can do is take a look at our old maps and see where those were and make sure they're not obstructed by tree branches or anything like that. And if we need more signs, we can put them out there. But I can have my officers keep an eye out for cut-through traffic from trucks,
Yeah,
too.
because when they come to the park there at Main and North Avenue, there's nothing there that says you can't continue on, you know, and when they get to Western and they decide that's the place to turn.
Right. I think what we did was we put them at the major entrances to town, so 59 and West Bartlett, Oak and on Oak by Eastview. I thought we put one on North Avenue on the Bartlett Streamwood border, and there's also one at Devon and South Bartlett or Main. But we could take a look at that, and if
Yeah,
it makes
because
sense to
I
add more, we
watched
can
the
add
guy
more.
when he came down Oneida to see where was he headed next, and he turned right at Main, crossed the tracks, and got onto West Bartlett Road so he could head right down to 59. So it's just being used as a
Okay,
cut through.
we could take a look at that. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mrs. Splice. Would anybody else like to address the board at this time?
Is it okay to talk about case 1724?
This gentleman is here for an item that's on your committee, and we instructed him to speak at Town Hall if you want, or hold off till committee. It's on our southwest corner of 59 and Lake Annexation Project.
Yeah, you can talk now. Is it 3 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. You can do both then. Maybe we'll open it up a little bit later if we have more questions.
Does it start after I get my glasses on?
Talk to the boss.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
My name is Brian Thomas. I live at 1260 Spalding Road, part of Amber Grove East subdivision and adjacent to Eagle Ridge Townhomes. I've lived in Bartlett 26 years. The reason I'm here is about case 1724 and to communicate my thoughts. I appreciate the right to speak at this meeting. I love Bartlett. I love Illinois. I love this country, the greatest country in the world. Last meeting about case 1724, it was expressed to us, and I paraphrase, just live with it. I decided I didn't want to just live with it, or I'd be sitting at home watching America's Next Top Model with my wife. Her choice, not mine. I was going to tell you about talking with my mom about this case. She said, Brian, you cannot take on City Hall. But I decided not to speak of this. I was going to tell you about a great David and Goliath story and how the little guy beats the big guy. But I decided not to speak of this. I was going to speak about the safety of our children with increased traffic through our neighborhood and one of our children being hit by a vehicle. But I decided not to speak of this. I was going to tell you about property value, but this is a very subjective issue and is not always about money. It can be about quality of life, but I decided not to speak of this. I was going to speak about noise pollution and the thump, 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 thump of tires on concrete and asphalt, but I decided not to speak of this. I was going to speak about light pollution and how LED and other lighting will turn the night sky into day, but I decided not to speak of this. I was going to speak about the effect on the wetlands and the wildlife in our area, but I decided not to speak of this. And the reason why I didn't speak of this is because it didn't work the last meeting. However, I would like to say, do not turn this into concrete and an auto dealership. Thank you. I appreciate my right to speak in front of you.
Thanks for being here. Would anyone else like to address the board at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to our standing committee reports this evening. First standing committee report is the Building and Zoning Committee. Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. There's nothing to report under Building and Zoning tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Next standing committee report this evening is the new and improved Community and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Gabrenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our agenda item was covered under consent.
Thank you, Chairman Gabrenia. Finance and Golf Committee. Chairman Daney.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item we have on our agenda under Finance and Golf is a resolution adopting the Village of Bartlett budget for the fiscal year 2018 and 19. And the Village Board reviewed the fiscal year 2018-19 proposed budget at the March 6th and March 14th and March 20th Finance Committee meetings. Adjustments to reduce the proposed budget total $269,071. The budgeted expenditures totaled $101,627,659. A public hearing was conducted on March 20th, 2018. And with that, I move to approve Resolution 2018-26.
26.
A resolution adopting the fiscal 2018-19 budget in the amount of $101,627,659.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Kammer. Is there any discussion? You guys must have done a pretty good job of explaining things for the last 3 months. Anything? All right. Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Daney?
Yes.
Gabrenia?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Kammerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is ordinance repealing Title 14, Chapter 1 of the Bartlett Municipal Code to repeal and eliminate the municipal natural gas use tax in its entirety. And again, we've discussed this. And with that, I move to approve ordinance 2018-27, an ordinance repealing Title 14, Chapter 1 of the Bartlett Municipal Code to repeal and eliminate the municipal natural gas tax in its entirety.
Second.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Ranky. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say I am excited to have this repealed. I think, well, hopefully have repealed. I think taxing something that is a necessity is just wrong. So I'm excited about it.
I know there's a lot of public comments out there, and I've been told anyway, but I too agree with this move. 5 years to do it, but
It's definitely been a long struggle, long battle.
any other comments?
I have
Questions?
one question. There is another ordinance that's attached to this that covers the rebates.
It covers what?
The rebates.
After we do this, yeah.
Okay, so that is coming.
Yeah, that'll have to come after we do this, and it gets filed with NICOR.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Gabrenia?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Camera?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes,
That
absolutely.
motion carries.
Next item we have on our agenda is ordinance repealing Title 14, Chapter 2 of the Bartlett Municipal Code to repeal and eliminate the municipal electric use tax in its entirety.
Second.
And with that, I move to approve ordinance 2018-28, an ordinance repealing Title 14, Chapter 2 of the Bartlett Municipal Code to repeal and eliminate the municipal electrical use tax in its entirety.
Second.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Camera. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Camera?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gabrenia?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Mr. President, item 4 was consent, and that concludes what we had on our committee for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Daney. Next item on our standing committee reports this evening is under License and Ordinance Committee. Chairman Camera.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just get to that real quick. Okay. Tonight we have the ordinance adding time restrictions for commercial refuse haulers. And can we open this up to let staff give us a little more information? We've got to take it to the,
I would make a motion and then we can discuss.
and I'll move to approve ordinance 2018-28. 9. An ordinance amending Title 4, Chapter 2 of Bartlett Municipal Code, adding new section 4-2-9 to restrict the hours of garbage and refuse collection for commercial, business, industrial, and large multifamily development collections.
Second.
Moved by trustee Camera, seconded by trustee Hopkins. Is there any discussion?
This is where I'd like to get a little more input, maybe, Jim, on what's going on as far as the complaints go. All right, Sam, great.
You were the garbage guy today?
I am. Yes, thank you, Trustee Kimmer. So over the course of last few years, we've received several complaints throughout the year, 3 or 4 a year, about homes being woken up very early in the morning. I received a complaint about a truck coming in at 5. And in the past, we've had police talk to the drivers and ask them if they can politely, come a little bit later. And then staff's also sent letters and made phone calls to the companies to see if they can do so. And this has worked, for a while in the past, and then it eventually comes back. So, we decided this was a good time to make an official ordinance for it, and then we mirrored it off of the residential waste hauler contract, so it would begin at 7 a.m. is when they could start, and then go until 6 a.m., and this is also similar to our surrounding communities as well.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m., right?
Yes, sorry.
Well, just looking at it, I would have thought that it would have been better to let people pick up the trash earlier so you didn't have more, garbage trucks at the same time as a residential doing businesses as well, was kind of my thought with that, is that get it over early and there's not more traffic on the roads.
Yeah, it's many of the homes near the commercial areas, they back up to the little lanes where the trucks actually drive through, so they can hear the brake noise, they can hear the smashing cans, and they generally get waken up, and that's a lot of the complaints that we've received.
Also, commercial haulers are not restricted just to Tuesday, so it can be any day of the week. So there may not be that conflict on Tuesday that you're thinking about.
Okay. And it's not a
Yeah, I thought.
problem for the businesses? I don't know.
I thought it was always 7 o'clock. I know that our previous hauler, a long time ago, I called the village and said, hey, I thought they couldn't do it before 7. And then they would come back if you didn't get them out there because they knew that they were early. That's residential.
Yeah, our residential is 7, but commercial, we at this time, we don't have any restrictions on it.
Okay. I'm good with it.
Are commercial and industrial businesses required to use GROOT?
They're not. We don't have any contract for commercial, only residential.
So when an industrial or a commercial business uses a different waste hauler than GROOT, do we get the franchise fee from that or any royalties?
No.
I don't know if you guys know this or not, or if you could research it, do other municipalities mandate that industrial and business users use whoever that the village elects to do their waste hauling?
I don't believe that's common. We can look into it further, but as far as my understanding, most of them don't have a commercial contract, just residential.
Okay.
Most don't. You could charge a license fee, then you have to police that, and you don't say who the hauler is, but they don't charge a franchise fee because they're not under contract with you. Each of our businesses are under contract with their hauler, but I've seen where, as part of the ordinance, they make the haulers register, get a permit if there were a license, if you will. And it's a small license fee that would cover the cost of administration. I don't think it's a big moneymaker, nor can it be, but I have seen that.
But is it a possibility of being passed on to the business owners?
Sure it would be. That's why.
That's an issue. I don't think we need to do anything else to add more burden to the business.
Right. That's why we didn't do it that way.
Well, I'm looking at it as a standpoint of, if you pass, you're making residents pay this fee, and they're passing it on to the consumers. Maybe if you open it up to everybody, it would lighten the taxpayers that live here a little bit, lighten their load.
Most businesses are paying considerably more for trash pickup than the actual residential customers are. All the businesses that I see have dumpsters out back, not just the smaller pickups. So they're already paying a lot. You're imposing a burden on more businesses, and I would not be in favor of it whatsoever.
Well, I think it's important to stay focused on the evil that we are attempting to remedy, which is the trucks showing up at 5 in the morning, right? So I guess I'm in support of that.
Yeah, good point, Trustee Ranky. Anything else? Nope. No more trash talk?
That's it.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ranky?
Yes.
Cammer?
Yes.
Carbonell?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Cabrera?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all we have.
Thank you, Chairman Kammerer. Next item we have on our standing committee reports this evening is Police and Health Committee, Chairman Carbonaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had one item that was covered under the consent agenda, nothing else.
Thank you, Chairman Carbonaro. Next item we have on standing committee reports is Public Works Committee, Chairman Ranke.
Thank you, Mr. President. All 4 items were addressed on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Ranke. Next item we have this evening on the board meeting is new business. Any new business anybody would like to discuss? Going once.
I think we did talk about the police vehicles and the replacement cycles, and I think that's something that we need to discuss before the next budget. And really, you know, my yes vote was in anticipation that we're going to address that, just like we've worked on the civic funding and things like that. So hopefully in the next couple months, before the next budget cycle, we can start talking about that.
Very good.
What's that?
Sorry about that.
My lip reading is a little fuzzy.
The police department staff is working on putting together the program and what kind of criteria we want to use for number of years, number of miles, different types of uses. So they're putting together a program that you guys can take a look at.
Thank you.
On the same lines, Madam Administrator, do we continually look for competitive bids for the maintenance work? That's a really high expense. The maintenance of the vehicles?
We took a look actually earlier this year at combining vehicle maintenance with the park district and the fire department. And after talking to my counterparts with those districts, we determined that that was really not a most cost-effective way because we all have very different vehicles. But the maintenance that we do for police department, a lot of it we don't bid out. Some of it goes back to the dealer. The warranty stuff, yeah. But we could take a look at that.
Yeah. Do the dealerships that we're buying these cars from usually cover it for the first few years, or?
Usually is eaten up in the first year because I think the warranty is 28,000 miles. So we can check into what the warranty actually is, but we usually meet it pretty quickly.
That's one number that jumped out at me when I was reviewing for the last time, was just, you know, that's something that I know from a business standpoint, every business does, is make sure that their fleet management is maintaining their vehicles well, because not maintaining them usually costs more than maintaining them, but also shopping that out and trying to save some money there. It can be pretty competitive. I'd love to see that, along with, you know, whenever you guys get a chance to put the other stuff together, maybe tie that in.
Okay.
Any other new business? Any questions?
Not a question, a statement.
Okay.
Everybody is aware that our new Everwash car wash is open in town. I'm not going to sell for them, but they have different ranges where you get unlimited car washes, and they're giving away all kinds of free stuff. It's a neat place.
Oh, thanks, Vince. Thank you.
I brought that in so I remember the name. They actually put a sticker in your windshield, so when you drive through, the gates go up, go right through. Takes about 2 minutes.
Carbonaro, that's great.
Maybe they can beat the $4 car wash that the village is paying.
Unlimited.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's a soft cloth.
Good contract, right there. I'll just, in finality with the budget being approved this evening, I want to thank you all. I know that there were a lot of hard questions, there were a lot of good questions, there's still a lot of questions that are floating around about some hanging items, insurance being one of them. But I want to thank you all for your very hard and diligent work. Todd, thank you so much for changing and then rechanging and then recalculating, and it does help us making an educated decision. So thank you for your hard work, staff. I think that was great. Anyone else? That'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Carbonaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kammer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Cabrera?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.